submitted very soon. It's coming going to go in this afternoon. But really, I think it's really important to note that this is just the beginning. You know, this is a process that's going to go on for a while. As Bill said yesterday, it's not a given. It's a very, very competitive process. And so while we think our chances are great because we think we have a great product, we think we are completely ready for this, and we think we can distinguish ourselves from the other bids in that way, it is a very competitive process. And so we look forward to the next few months and getting across the finish line and starting to play NBA games here in 2028.
In your pitch to the WNBA, why do you think Nashville deserves to be chosen?
Well, I think a lot of things that I just reeled through. Number one, it is a city that is ready for this. We host the SEC men's basketball tournament every year. We have the genesis of women's basketball is 3 hours east in Knoxville. And we've proven with the Predators that we know how to run a franchise. And the one of the very, very essential points of that is being community-centered. And that's what Bill and Chrissy want to do with this WNBA team. We want to integrate it and make it as much of a part of the city as the Predators are. And again, look at the ownership group. The names that you've seen so far are very impressive. There will be other names that you'll hear in the days ahead. So I just find it really, really difficult to think of anyone else putting together a package that's more appealing top to bottom than Nashville has put together. Again, it all comes back to readiness and quality, and I think Nashville is both of those things in spades.
What is it about specifically the sports culture and basketball culture for this state that lends itself to the fan base maybe having a lot of support for this potential team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look back at the history of basketball in the state, and specifically women's basketball. The Lady Vols were selling out games long before anyone thought that it was possible, long before the WNBA became a really prominent league. And so, you think about the history of the Vanderbilt, Tennessee basketball games, both here and in Knoxville, and then the Tennessee-Connecticut rivalry that developed. I think it is a place that is very, very rich and ready for women's basketball. The response we've gotten this morning has been astounding. I can't tell you how many texts, emails, phone calls I've gotten. We're ready to be a season ticket holder. I think it also rounds out the professional sports landscape in a way that makes sense for such a vibrant city as Nashville. I mean, it's a missing link. We've never had a major professional women's sports league in Tennessee, and this feels right. Feels like the right time and the right place.
Michelle, someone who knows very well that a few decades ago people wondered if Nashville could be a one-sport major league city. Now we're talking about the potential of 4, and I know there's some others that we're talking about. How much pride is in that, and is there any surprise at how much Nashville has grown into something it's coveted?
Yeah. I've been here a long time. I came here to go to college many, many, many years ago, and the growth of Nashville is a source of pride. For me personally, for us as an organization, and I think that the potential for Nashville to support professional athletics is really limitless. I don't worry about a saturated market. I don't think about those things because I think that's a fiction. I don't think that's the case. But when we think about starting a hockey franchise here 26 years ago, when people had no idea what ice hockey was about and the fandom that we've seen created over these years, I think with women's basketball, we would be starting at a more educated, a more familiar place. And so I think that in no time at all, we're going to see this building full of women's basketball fans. And we're going to see the city support this like they support everything else that is exciting and vibrant all around.
What about the idea that what this team could do for young women and girls in the state of Tennessee to inspire them and stuff like that?
Oh, I mean, I think that's great. People ask me all the time because of my title and the profession that I work in. What's the census of women presidents? And none of that matters to me, except that I do love it that when little girls see someone who looks like them, who's doing something they might not have thought they could do before. This is the same thing. The Haslam's will build this team in a way that it is anchored in the community. They'll build it in a way where it will create a rush of excitement from the time someone is this tall to the time they're playing on a WNBA team. So that fandom is great for the business. It's great for little girls growing up in this area. And it's great for the continued vibrancy of the WNBA. It's just, when you think about the trajectory that the WNBA is on, and you think about Nashville not being a part of that, it's just sort of it doesn't seem right. This seems like a place, the vibrancy of Nashville, the growth of Nashville, the excitement of Nashville, the draw of Nashville, it seems like the perfect place.
Michelle, there's always been a collegial atmosphere between all the teams in this town, but this is a unique sense in that we're standing inside, the Predators' office is right here. Governor Haslam is the chairman of the Predators at the moment.
Right.
Now he's leading this new team. What role does the one organization have to the next, and how can that synergy be beneficial?
Yeah, so great question. This will be a separate entity. This will be something that Bill, Chrissy, and others will own. There may be some owners of the Preds who join the party as well, but we will be, as Bridgestone Arena, there are a lot of hats that I'm taking on and off as I'm talking to you guys today. Channeling the Haslams, I'll talk about the ownership part of it, channeling the Bridgestone Arena and the Preds, they would be a tenant of Bridgestone Arena. Fits right into our mission in life to be the busiest place in the world. Dark days are sad days to us. So we want all the activity that we can get here. From the perspective of Bill's ownership, Bill and Chrissy's ownership, certainly what they've seen in the Preds is something they want to emulate in the WNBA in terms of that community-centeredness, that community connectedness. And so there are other things. If you think about what goes on in this building, the staff in this building sells not only Preds tickets, but concert tickets. The same would be the case for the WNBA. We would sell those tickets. We would try to fill this building every single night. And so there are a lot of synergies that will feed off of with the connectivity, but it will be a separate legal entity.
You say it's a separate entity, but there is a lot of crossover. How important is it for the Predators and the people that are involved with the Predators to help play a part in bringing this team to life?
Oh, I think it's very important. It's why a few years ago we created a subsidiary that we call Sabretooth Sports and Entertainment, SS&E. And that is a sales and marketing arm that does third-party sales and marketing for other groups outside of this building. We would envision something like that being involved with this franchise so that we do use the expertise. Why recreate the wheel when we know how to do things in this building, in this town, in sports? So yes, it's very, very important that the connectivity is there, but it's also very important to Bill and to us to make sure that people understand that they are two different groups. We are not going to have exactly overlapping ownership. We hope that some of the Preds ownership, or Bill hopes that some of the Preds ownership will join this because it's a fun endeavor, and they're already partners. They work well together, but they will not be completely overlapping ownership groups, and so there is a distinction there.
What conversations, if any, have you had with the other established WNBA teams? What works and what doesn't?
Yeah, so that connectivity is important. The thing, when you talk to other people, whether it's in the WNBA or otherwise, if you're sharing a building and you don't have connectivity, it's just not it can lead to sometimes not an optimal situation. And so having that connectivity, and Bill and Chrissy and some of the overlap that we expect to occur with our existing ownership group, and the way that we will run it operationally will ensure that we don't hit some of those speed bumps.
How long of a brainstorm was it to come up with the name Summitt, and what were the conversations like with Pat Summitt's family about going this direction?
So you think about the Haslams, and it's kind of an obvious connection with the University of Tennessee and with Pat. So it seemed from really early on a pretty obvious name. It was really neat. We were sitting in that conference room one day with Candace Parker, and we hadn't shared yet with her what the name was going to be. And so when we said to her what it was going to be, she was just overwhelmed with emotion. It was so fun. And listen, in the interest of complete transparency, I played college basketball at Vanderbilt. So, but to me, it's been such a fun thing to watch, to see how completely enamored Candace is with this whole process and with the affection that she has for Pat and the impact that Pat's had on her life. We've gotten some questions about, well, is it a little touchy to use that name when Vanderbilt's just down the road? You know what, I am not a representative of Vanderbilt. I can't speak for the university, but I can speak for a lot of my teammates with whom I've talked about this. There's such a reverence and a respect for what Pat Summitt did. Nobody down the street is going to have hard feelings about this being the name of this team. We all love what Vanderbilt, the resurgence that we're seeing at Vanderbilt right now. Shea Ralph and Candace Lee are doing an awesome job there. But there's no question in my mind that this is the right name for this team.
In terms of the steps from here, bid goes in this afternoon, hoping you're playing in the summer or spring of 2028. What has to happen between now and then to make that a reality?
Yeah. So word on the street is that there'll be probably 10 or 12 bids that go in today. There will be a series of rounds after the first round. So the first round is a bid submission. They will cut the initial bid number down to, we've heard, 4 or 5, and then they'll begin earnest conversations to, sharpen the pencil and negotiate some different things. We have been given the expectation that it will be a months-long process. We probably won't know who wins the bid until the summer. And then, if the right thing happens, the summit will hit the ground running and begin making plans. I mean, you guys have probably seen in what's been reported thus far, there would be a new practice facility. We'd have to identify a location and start building that. So as soon as the bid is awarded, even though they wouldn't start playing until 2028, there'd be a lot to do between now and then. A lot of activity would begin right away.
Anything else for Michelle, guys?
Do you know any of those cities that are bidding against Nashville?
I only know what I've read in the media. The ones that we've heard the most about are Austin, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Cleveland. Those are the 4 that we hear mentioned most often. But again, that's something I've read and not inside scoop.
Operationally speaking, how do you fit this into a schedule of an already busy Bridgestone Arena, like flipping the arena floor and the logistics?
You would be absolutely astounded at how quickly an arena floor can be flipped. So we've already started talking about basketball, hockey doubleheaders in the same day. So, for us, it's, as I said a little bit earlier, a dark day here is a sad day. We don't like the building not to be busy. And so we will make it work. We are excited to make it work. And during the season of the summit, they would have scheduling priority over concerts and other events that would come here. We see it as a win, a lot of wins, for the building, for the Haslams, for the state, for the city. So we couldn't be more excited to be a part of it, and hope that we'll be able to announce in a few months that Bridgestone Arena will be the home of the Tennessee Summit.
You mentioned some of the teams that are bidding. Is it bidding for one spot right now? Or is there an opportunity for more than one?
The bid request is for one spot. So there were 12 teams last season. The 13th team will start playing in 2025, and that'll be the Golden State Valkyries. They've added Portland and Toronto already. They'll start playing in 2026. This is a request for the bid for the 16th team, and they've asked for a bid request for either 2027 or 2028. Ours is for 2028 because of the reimagination of this building that's going to start taking place fairly soon.
We're talking about the reverence that you and so many people have for Pat Summitt, but also Candace Parker. I mean, a massive piece of women's basketball, whether collegiate or professional. How much of an asset is she in this pitch and being a voice behind the scenes and bringing this to life?
Impossible to overstate how important that is. So before I answer the question directly, I'll say that the Haslams have brought together an incredible group. The Haslams Rolodex, I know I'm speaking in old, sometimes people say, who's the most famous person in your contact list? I don't know how Bill Haslam could possibly answer that question, because everybody that we talk about, it's not even 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. It's like, oh yeah, I can text them. And so credit to them that everyone that they reach out to is so excited to work with them, because they are class people, their reputation precedes them. So incredible credit to the Haslams for garnering this group of people. As for Candace Parker, she's basketball royalty. I mean, you're not going to get anyone who has a more impactful career than she is. And to sit and talk to her, she is so knowledgeable about not only the X's and O's of the game, but she's such a tremendous asset to give us insight into how to build a team, how to build it right. She's played in a lot of places. She's played for a lot of years. She's seen the right way to run a team and to treat players, and she's seen some things that fall a little short of that. So her input into this is absolutely gigantic, and I think is just one of a number of things that gives us an advantage as we embark on this road.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming out today with this exciting news. Thank you, Michelle, for your
Of course.
time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I got printouts of the press release up here if you guys still need them. Then Kehlani and Kate and our staff can help get you back to the garage.
You don't trust us to find our way back?
I do, but
You shouldn't.
then you guys want to set up right here. Cool. Michelle, you don't